it's always a pleasure to speak about your projects because they're so diversified, but you have this talent for, crawling under the audience's skin. It starts, in quite a plain way, and you're quite sneaky. Is that always an intention?
It is. You got to get butts in the seats here,
Yeah.
obviously, and to get people off their couches, these days, it's I want to be. It's the kind of movies I like. I want to be
Yeah.
taken on a ride. I want to go on the roller coaster ride, but I also don't want it just to be an empty ride. And so I think the three films I've hopefully gotten better because I'm learning what I'm doing, but. I'm certainly stealing from every genre, whether it's a horror movie or a thriller or a gangster pick, and kind of taking you on this sort of winding road. While at its heart, it's basically a character study, basically, but hopefully gives you kind of that same emotional roller coaster that you would get from maybe a little lighter fare.
It's quite fascinating how the story is very timely. It could resonate today. It could happen today, although set in the 80s. So
Yeah.
was that the fascination for you, the reason for the writing?
Yeah, I think it almost allowed me to, 1981 is the most violent year in New York City history. 1991 sort of competes with it, strangely, due to the crack epidemic. So that was a very isolated situation. This tragically was just the whole city was sort of in decay. So it's a period that I had never made a period film also, and it was something that I just found a really interesting kind of. It's when New York City really chose its future. It was either going to go towards the Wild West, where everyone was walking around with a gun, or was it going to choose this different path? Also, in a way, by choosing a different period, it really does allow you to sort of walk a little closer to the bone, so to speak, and which in this particular instance is in my country, we're obsessed with guns, and there is in many states in the country a real movement towards that being the answer towards a civil society, which I do not believe that is true. So, the sort of core challenge of this film is not whether violence is real and whether violence is scary and whether violence destroys people's lives, because we all agree it is. What the movie is about is what do you do in response to that?
And it's very interesting to dose the moral compass of each character individually. Is that a difficult tone to keep up with because they're all...
Yeah, I mean, my films, I think, well, certainly not All Is Lost. That was just looking at one guy, but
Yeah.
but my first film and this film, the balance of trying to tell a rich and wide tapestry of a story while also giving the audience enough about who everybody is and what their lives are, is a tricky balance. And then in this instance, everybody's motivations, are not clear, but you certainly sort of have an idea of why people want certain things. And then hopefully I'm playing against that and kind of, Oscar, the main character in the movie, is a Latino immigrant into the United States, and they're certainly in movies and popular culture in the United States, Latino men are not. They are either Scarface or they are these sort of saint-like, workers that are there, family men, and there really is no in between. That is, Oscar was telling me, I didn't believe it, but almost ever in the history of American film, this huge population of a percentage of our population has sort of never been represented in sort of a subtle or nuanced way. So he is not a saint, and he is not purely a sinner. He is a person who both ethically and for reasons of just pragmatic, does not believe that fighting fire with fire is the best course, that fighting fire with water is a better course, basically. So I found him to be fascinating character, and the way that Oscar kind of made him his own was beautiful. And when you're a writer, there's nothing cooler than seeing someone take your words and make them their own.
Yeah, and it's great because everybody in this film, as actors they do, and as a filmmaker you do, makes choices. It kind of echoes a bit the theme of the film, you know, the path you take makes for a very different project. You must believe in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy is an entrepreneur, and she is also an entrepreneur, and then they team up together and built a really successful business, and now you're here with them at this sort of crucible, this moment of sort of where there is no opportunity to just stay where you are. You have to either go there or you got to go there. And you know, the similarities, you know, from an entrepreneurial standpoint in the film business are obviously similar, where you have to make choices with each new project, and you know, and I think the interesting thing is the variable, the difference is what's amazing about these characters, which I think really is the sort of secret to their success, is that, you know, it's a little on the nose, but he is a long distance runner, right? He's not a sprinter. He goes out and trains for hours and hours and loves the grind, and running a small business and turning it into something, you know, and really building wealth, which is what this guy's motivation is. You know, that's not something that changes every day. In fact, it's the monotony of that, you know, and realizing that you are going to be singular towards this goal. You know, Oscar's character, we always joked, doesn't really love heating oil. It's just a ways to a means for him, you know, and he saw it as a business that he could enter as an immigrant and get into, and then build and grow and grow. And so I think his ambition is unlimited, and hers is, you know, has a very specific goal in mind. So the two of them together are quite a team.
Exactly. And talking about that, I mean, Cannes last year must have been very serendipitous for you. Is it where you met both of them, or you knew Oscar before?
No, I did not. I had seen Oscar's performances, but I never knew who he was or what he was. I didn't know his name. But Jessica was attached, or sort of informally attached at Cannes. And so she and I were talking about the project, and there were some other actors or actor circling, older actors were circling the part, but I could not get anyone to quite agree on the script. It was actually the gray area. Most people who wanted to play that part wanted it to be far more black and white. And she started to talk to me about this kid from her Juilliard class. So they went to drama school together. And she started to tell me, you know, his mom was Guatemalan and his dad was Cuban, and he grew up in Miami, and he, you know, got himself into Juilliard, and then she told me about his path, and then luckily the Coen Brothers movie was well received, and Oscar's performance in it also well received, and so later that summer, I actually sat down and met with him for the first time, you know, really on her recommendation. She wrote a very passionate letter. I had kind of already agreed that he probably was the right guy for the part at that time, but she wrote this passionate letter and was like, he is the guy, and we both kind of came to that conclusion. And from the day he sort of walked on to the first set for a rehearsal, it was as if, you know, this new person had been created.
Yeah. And it's very important for you to choose the right people, because you're kind of painting, you know, of course there's the similarities with, you know, gangster families, etc. Yeah. But your movies are a painting of different characters that are, you know, except All Is Lost because they're a painting of one character.
Still a painting, but no, I mean, it's everything, you know, and I think in film to not take that into account and to actually think that those actors are sort of totally blank slates is not actually true. They bring who they are, you know, because it's film acting. You are so intimate with these people. So, you know, the audience wants to know them, you know, deeper than they really do. And then my goal as a director is to put them in a world where their strengths as an actor can go on that path. so that they can disappear, you know, by the time you're 10 or 15 minutes into the movie. I think even with Robert, who is about as recognizable as an actor on planet Earth, Mr. Redford's been around a while, but hopefully 10 or 20 minutes into that movie, it's whether it's him or not, it's just a guy stuck on a boat, you know, and if I'm doing my part of the job, you know, that's the way they feel.
I believe.